Thanks for joining me. This is PERFTalk on YouTube Live. I'm going to try to make this concise and not ramble on too much. So just type in your comments in the chat box on the right side of the screen, and I'll try to get to them somewhere towards the end of the video. Okay. Now, let's see, Southern. Okay, so we got a. I know I see a couple of familiar names. Okay, so today's topic is how to play like Perf De Castro. Okay, I get asked that a lot, and frankly, I don't know how to best answer it because we're all different people. We all think differently. So I guess um, after thinking about it for a while, I figured the best way to answer that question is to give you 5 tips, or take 5 things that I did throughout the course of my career, and 5 things that I'm still doing. Okay, and then what we'll do is I'll give you those tips, and then I'll talk a little bit about each one, and hopefully that gives you an idea of what to do, or at least some direction as to what to figure out next. Okay. Um, that said, each tip is kind of general. It's pretty much a general idea of what I did, and in later episodes I could probably take one tip and expand on it and give you specifics. Okay, so 13 watching, we are going to get started. Let's see, switch to this scene. Okay, so the first tip is there. Never stop learning and practice always, efficiently, and often. Okay, so when I first started guitar, it was there was this just drive within myself to do all I can to learn about the instrument. From playing it to learning songs to learning how it works, and then eventually I decided that I needed to learn about the peripheral things around the instrument, meaning like music theory, how music works, recording, how to record guitar, how to record other instruments, how to write songs, how the music business works, how to build a career out of playing. Okay, so and up until now, I've never stopped learning. I still learn a lot of things. I make it a point to learn something every day, be it the guitar or something else, something related to my career. Okay, usually there's an aversion to not learning something. Like if you find something really hard to grasp or hard to understand, a lot of people just put it off and say, I don't need that anyway. But actually, if you just apply yourself to it, and eventually there will come that moment of epiphany where it'll just click, and you'll understand, or there might be some missing piece that you'll pick up somewhere that will help you understand what you've been trying to figure out for the longest time. I know that's happened to me a lot of times. And if there's something that you really can't figure out on your own, don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. Go to the experts and pick their brains. I did not learn everything that I know by myself. I had great teachers along the way. I had great mentors, and even and sometimes even though the thing I learned was not the topic of what was being taught to me. There are other things that you can learn just from watching and observing and experiencing different things. Okay, so never stop learning. I could give you a couple of pointers on YouTube, especially nowadays. Okay, um, nowadays there's so much resources out there, and there's a lot of great material that you can wrap your head around. Check out Rick Beato's YouTube channel for all things music theory related and production and recording and stuff. So that has been one of my go-to YouTube channels recently. It's just an invaluable resource, and it's free. He just gives so much of himself to that YouTube channel. And then, of course, if you find something that really helps you a lot, don't hesitate to support them. Buy their merchandise, subscribe, bring their view count up. Do stuff like that. Every little thing helps nowadays. Okay. Now, the second half of this tip is practice always, practice efficiently, and practice often. Okay. So, here. So, every day I play guitar maybe 7 to 8 hours. That's including teaching and practicing and figuring out songs and whatever. If I'm preparing for a tour, I may increase that. Okay, but in the beginning, if you're still starting out, nothing beats putting your fingers on the strings for countless hours, for a lot of time. You should spend a lot of time just getting to know your instrument, getting to figuring out how to hold it, and figuring out how to produce a note, and getting your fingers to move the way that you want them to move. Nothing beats that. Once you get your skills foundation established, then you can spend a little less time doing the mechanical exercises, and you can start focusing on producing actual music. Okay, and then eventually, there will be times where, when I say I play guitar 7 to 8 hours a day, I actually practice more than that. I practice I practice music up until like 15 hours a day, because even when I'm not with the guitar, I think about what to do next, or I try to figure out some theory puzzle, or I try to think of different ways to or I think about song forms. I think about how to present things. Okay, so it's not just physical practice that you need to work on. You got to work on your mental practice as well. If I'm memorizing something, I spend some time just looking at the piece and memorizing the form and envisioning the flow of the piece in my head. Okay, so that's also practice. So and that falls into the efficient practice. Okay, because sometimes your fingers need a break, right? We all get tired. We're human. We're not robots. We're not superhuman. We're not endurance athletes. Okay. So when my fingers get tired, or when I feel that I'm not getting the benefits of physical practice anymore, that's when I switch to mental practice, or sometimes just thinking or just meditating on something. You get a lot of things done that way as well, because sometimes you work it out in your head and then you put it on the strings a little later on, and you'll find that, oh whoa, this is a little easier. Okay. And then practice often. Okay, consistent practice is definitely more beneficial than practice quantity, or actually, uh, consistent practice is better than cramming. Okay, so let's say you have limited amount of time. Conservatively, you have, let's say you only have like 1 hour a day. Okay, which which if you only have 1 hour today to practice, I seriously suggest that you read up on time management. Okay, but anyway, if you have 1 hour a day, as long as you do it every day, then you're going to improve. You're going to see progress on your instrument. If you practice 5 hours today and not touch the guitar for 7 days, that's not gonna do it. That's you're always going back to square one whenever you do that. Okay, and if you're not used to playing consistently, that super session of 5 hours of guitar time will actually end up hurting your hand. Okay, so practice consistently, practice efficiently, practice smart, and always practice, always play, always strive to make yourself better. Okay, that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we are going to the second tip. Okay, there you go. So tip number 2 is listen to different kinds of music, and whenever possible, play along to random playlists. Okay, this is probably one of the most beneficial things that I've done in my career, or done while working on my skills. Okay, back in the days of FM radio. I would practice my scales. I'd learn my theory. I'd warm up on the guitar, and then I'd turn on the radio and pick a random station, and then for the next couple of hours I'd just play along to whatever came on the radio. If it was a pop station, I would play along to the playlist for an hour, or sometimes I'd change it. I'd try a smooth jazz station or whatever. Okay, but the challenge there was not just to play whatever it was that I was practicing, or whatever that was that I knew at the time that I could play well, over whatever was on the radio. The challenge was to come up with a guitar part that would go well with whatever song I was playing over. Okay, so it wasn't just you have a pop song, and then all throughout the 3.5 minutes of it you go, that's counterintuitive. So if it was a ballad, I'd play something ballady. If it was upbeat, I'd play something upbeat. Like I said, the challenge is to come up with a guitar part that would fit the song, right? And that really opened up my ears. Okay, and so in coming up with the guitar part, also in figuring out the key of the song, because back then it was FM radio. There was no internet. You couldn't Google song chords and have it in an instant. So I relied heavily on my ear. So once I figured out the key, then I can then my knowledge of theory kicked in, and then I can lay out all the chords that I needed and the scales I needed, and then just figure out stuff, and it and like I said, I change stations once in a while. Sometimes it'd be I'm showing my age, but sometimes it would be 99.5 RT. Sometimes it would be smooth jazz. I think one time I tried jamming to the classical station. That didn't last long, because at that point in time, my musical sophistication still wasn't, or my musical sense still wasn't as developed or as sophisticated to tackle that kind of stuff. Okay, so nowadays, if you don't listen to FM radio, you can probably pull up something on Spotify and just, jam on a random playlist, um, and force yourself not to Google the chords. Figure it out on your own. Figure it out by ear, uh, and then come up with guitar parts that would fit it. You know, so that's going to be your challenge, because it will only help you later on when you if you should you find yourself in a musical situation where you need to come up parts on the fly. That's one way to practice it. It's just by jamming to random stuff. Okay, so there is point number 2. Okay, so I'm going to check out the live chat section for a little bit, see who's in here. Southern California, Blue Shades, Jay Flores from Pinas, hello. Hanep, Australia naman dito, sir. God bless. Kudos Culture Microblock. Demos help make the decision easy. Okay. Glad you dug that, man. Decision to buy. Faid Tan. Hello, Faid. Kumusta? Okay, my problem with tip number 2 is improvise in different playlists. I sound similar. Okay, so if you have that's the thing. If you keep playing the stuff that you're familiar with, right, or the stuff that you normally play, that defeats the whole purpose of the exercise. The exercise, the whole point of it is to come up with stuff that you don't normally play. Okay, so if you typically, let's say your go-to licks are pentatonic, right? So what do you do to change that? Okay, so work on your arpeggios, or work on your diatonic scales, or work on just playing chord inversions all over the neck. Or even if you're used to this pentatonic box, start improvising on a different part of the neck in the same key. And that will break you out of your rut. So the whole thing is not to play the stuff that you're comfortable with. Figure out stuff that's not comfortable with, that you're not comfortable with, and that gives you something to work on. Okay, Migraine Boy, hi from Malaysia. Nice. Okay, so we've got some audiences from all over the world, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to move on to tip number 3. Okay, tip number, whoa. Okay, I skipped one. Okay, this is the correct slide. So tip number 3, play with real people as much as you can. Okay, now when I was growing up as well, I was lucky to have gone to school in Don Bosco, Makati, in the Philippines. Okay, it was a Catholic school, and we had weekly masses as well as the occasional school-wide celebratory mass. And what made that special is that all the mass songs were accompanied by live musicians. There's a live band in there. There's a worship leader up front, a song leader rather, up front, and everybody in the school sang to the songs. And then we had a full band. We had a keyboard player, we had a drummer, we had a bass player, we had a guitar player, sometimes 2 guitar players, sometimes 2 keyboard players. But anyway, so on a weekly basis, I was making music with live people, with a live drummer, and an event. And aside from that, I had my own high school band going, and we were jamming on a regular basis as well. So nothing beats playing with real people, because music is a communal thing. It has, and it's a social thing. Um, it's an awesome feeling to create music with like-minded peers. Um, and really, there's nothing that comes close to it. You know, it's fun to sit at home and jam to YouTube backing tracks and all that. But the thing is, it's that's a very solitary way of making music, right? So as much as possible, get out and jam with people. You know, because every jam session, every time you play with somebody else, it's a learning experience. You know, it's almost religious because it just, you know, once everything clicks, it feels good, right? Um, Especially if you have like a group of friends that push each other, right? So you can go out and play with people who are, you know, less accomplished than you are. Go out and play with people who are better than you are. Okay. So in every situation, there's always something that you can uh, gain or you can pick out from. Okay, so that's the thing. Um, always play with real people. Okay, that's um, if you're going to take something out of this whole perf talk session, that's probably my biggest emphasis. Okay, get out, you know, go to an open mic, go to an open jam, um, meet people, make music, and you know, be unleash your unleash your music to the world. Okay. Um, However, um, you have to make sure that you can hold your own ground playing wise. Okay, because if you drag everybody down, no one's gonna want to play with you. Okay, so you gotta be on your game. Okay, you gotta make people want to play music with you. That's the thing. Um, you can't treat them as backing tracks. If you're used to playing backing tracks, um, you gotta break out of that habit and interact. You know, interact with whoever you're playing with. I mean, that's what you're after, the interaction between musicians. Um, if you play something, you react to it, and then chances are, if you play something cool, they'll react to it as well, and you know, there's that whole symbiotic relationship happening when while everyone's playing music. So that's the thing. Play with real people as much as you can. Okay. Let's see. Tip number 4. Okay, number 4 uh, pertains to gear. Know your instrument and gear inside and out. Okay. Um, you can search on my YouTube channel. I do a lot of gear reviews, and then there's a video where I addressed the question why I don't have guitar tech, why I work on guitars myself, um, and yeah, and I'm going to give the same answer here. If you know your instrument really well, then you'll be able to pull out the best sound out of it. Okay, that's the same goes for your guitars, same goes for your effects, same goes for your amps. And if you're into recording, that every piece of gear that you have to know by heart, and you have to know inside and out. Um, just so that one, you can make it sound good. Two, um, if something breaks, you'll be able to figure out, you'll be able to troubleshoot it yourself. Um, Three, if in case it breaks and you can't fix it, you can take it to somebody who can, and you'll be able to tell them exactly what they need to do to fix to help you out. Um, yeah, because sometimes there's a lot of times we rely on other people to fix our things for us, and it's you know, which is fine. I support them, but um, for me personally, it's probably the control freak in me, because I want I want to be on top of everything. Okay? I want to know what's happening. I want to know what he's doing. Okay, because if, let's say, and it's protection for yourself as well. Let's say you have an active guitar and suddenly the sound goes out, and you don't know why, right? You change all your cables, you change all your effects and all that, and finally take it to a tech, and it charges you like $60, and eventually you find out later on that all he needed to do was change the 9-volt battery in the guitar cavity. So he basically paid somebody $60 to unscrew these, put a new battery in, and screw it back on. That's something simple that you can do, right? So all the simple stuff I do myself. If it's something beyond my skills, then I take it to an expert. Okay. So get to know your gear inside and out. That also helps when you're gigging. If you're gigging, something happens at the gig, you'll be able to pinpoint exactly what went wrong. Okay. If somebody else set up your pedal board for you and then the sound cuts out, good luck trying to chase which cable went bad. So anyway, that's that. Okay. Let's see. And before I go to the final tip, let's go back to the chat box. Greeting. Okay, migraine boy. I figured all the chords. Good. Yeah, that's what tip number 2 pertains to. What do you call it? Play a random playlist and figure things out by ear. Jang songs. Fight number 4, yes. Okay. Particularly important. To get 15 fret, Dino B 5 to pull on the bridge. Okay, cool. Let's see. Now we are going to number 5. There you go. Okay, number 5. Get into and embrace different musical situations, but never lose sight of what your vision for yourself is. Okay. So this is somewhat deep, and I'll explain it in a little bit. A lot of people know me as a versatile musician. Okay, so I've played in everything from rock bands to orchestral gigs. I've been in a guitar quartet. I play solo classical guitar. I've played in pop bands. Different kinds of rock bands, and I played in rap bands as well. So, but here's the thing: even though, I know enough to be able to fit into each musical situation, I still have my vision of myself as an artist, meaning I retain my voice in every musical situation. Okay, when you hear me play in whatever it is, whatever backing track or whatever band it is I'm playing with at the moment, if you hear the lead guitar or if you hear the guitar work, you'll always recognize that it's me playing. Okay, so that's where my vision of myself is. This is how I play. This is going to be what I'm going to present myself as. However, the situation around me changes. Okay, so the challenge becomes, how do I fit myself into that situation, right? Because you can't stick out like a sore thumb and not adapt, but at the same time you don't want to lose yourself. Okay, So having a vision of yourself or having a vision for yourself will help guide you in the stuff that you're going to work on. So if you are going to be primarily a rock guitar player, so then you have to work on rock vocabulary, right? You have to work on your all the things that come that are needed to become a rock guitarist. That's not to say that you can't study jazz or you can't study classical or you can't study whatever else that picks your interest. However, the point is that you study all this other stuff and pick out the stuff that you really like and try to enrich your basic vision of yourself with it, right? So I'm still a rock guitar player. I like playing, but then sometimes I'd like to insert a little more sophistication in the playing. So instead of just playing pentatonic, I can morph into all that other stuff. Okay. So now there was a time where I did stop playing electric and focus on classical guitar, and that also goes in line with what tip number 5 is, because at that time my vision for myself was to be a concert classical guitarist. Okay, so I put down the electric and played classical full time. That's for a period of 10 years. And then along the way something interesting happened, because usually for as a classical guitarist you want as far as interpretation goes, you want to find your own interpretation of the pieces and then stick to that always. That's how you perfect. That's how you play pieces perfectly, right? However, in my case, I would master the pieces to the point where I really know it really well. But then whenever I perform, I always inject a sense of improvisation as far as the interpretation goes. Okay, which for me personally, it felt like I was more free. I was making music in the moment, even though I was technically reciting somebody else's words. Okay, so so in that sense, it's kind of like listening to Shakespeare being interpreted by two different actors. Okay, so and I had my own interpretation, and I injected the sense of improvisation into my interpretations. It made it sound more human, but at the same time, there's more risk for mistakes. So I just didn't care about the mistakes. Okay, and then the interesting thing too is when I started going back to playing electric guitar more, the classical sensibility started kicking in, because now I don't necessarily just listen to the guitar anymore. My ear has opened up wide enough so that I can hear my guitar in the context of the whole, of the musical whole. So I can easily react to whatever, let's say, the bass player is doing, or the other guitar player is doing, or the drummer is doing, or whatever the band is doing. I can easily react and improvise and make up stuff to complement whatever is that's happening around me. Prior to my studying classical guitar seriously, I could only hear one thing. Okay, probably the whole practice of listening to counterpoint and listening to orchestration opened up my ears, and that just helped my electric playing a lot. Okay, and it also helped my recording chops and producing chops, because now I can think of the band as an ensemble or as an orchestra, and then bring out different elements in the recordings or in the production. Okay, so anyway, so now my vision of myself is a guitar player and educator, and still primarily a rock guitar player, and if I play my 10 string, then I think of myself as a classical guitarist. So but that's that. I always stick to a vision of myself. That's my voice. Okay. Okay, so that is tip number 5. Let's go back to the chat box and let's see what we're doing. Number 4 was difficult 10 years ago. No resources. With the advent of YouTube, different noise is important as playing the instrument. Yep, that's correct. Good morning. Okay, good. So anyway, so that concludes the talk, the tips that is the topic of this YouTube live session. Okay. If you have comments, don't post them in the live chat because the live chat's going away as soon as this YouTube live session is done. So if you want, if you have comments, suggestions, or requests, put them in the comments section below the video after the session is done. That way I can see it and everybody else can see it. Okay.